Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Market Conversations. I'm Jerry Hall. Today is August 6th, 2021, and I will tell you, I'm sure I'm not the only one who is feeling a little more comfortable in my position as it pertains to these digital assets. We had that little pullback, although I knew would be temporary. You never know how long they're going to last. So anyway, it's nice to see the markets are picking up a bit. And it's also nice to see we're getting a lot of information from the legacy world that this space is continuing on a momentum that is in all of our favor, right? Sometimes momentum is not measured in price. Sometimes it's measured by the human capital that's coming to the space, right? The programmers, the financiers, the actual businesses that are building something. Sometimes it comes in the form of breakthrough regulation, expansion of business endeavors, and things of that nature. I know for a long time, dating all the way back to December, many of us who've been holding XRP in our portfolios have been wondering the outcome of this SEC case. What's going to happen? How's it going to play out really? What are the ramifications really? Well, there's been a tremendous amount of speculation on this topic. I had reached out to one of my favorite folks on Twitter, Mr. John Deaton. That's right, attorney at law, John Deaton, who agreed to be on the show tonight. Now, there seems to be some issue because I sent him a link to get into the studio and he has not made it in yet. So when you see me look at my screen and I'm doing some other stuff, what I'm doing is I'm going browser tabs back and forth to see if he did anything on Twitter, if he saw my message. My DMs show checks, so I know he's got the link. If he checks his private message, he'll get it. Then he can pop in because StreamYard's web browser-based type of software, real easy, nothing to download. But I thought until John pops in, I'd like to just take a second and say hello to the folks that are chiming in the chat. Hello, Chris. Nice to have you in early. Heirloom Heritage. Nice to have you. Steve Willett. PZ Comedy Channel, XRP McLounders, Michael. Hey, Michael, nice to see you. And Bill Gould, nice to have you in the house tonight. And I see that there's a lot more of you actually viewing right now than are chiming in on the chat. Gary, nice to have you. Crawford, nice to have you. Daniel, excellent. Thanks for popping in tonight. I'm hoping John will hit the link here and pop in here real soon. P. Kelly, nice to see you. Ray, nice to see you. So maybe we can take some time knowing that it's probably just a matter of John checking his DM to get the link. Do you, our incredible audience, have any questions that you have been pondering on as it pertains to the Ripple SEC case, what John's got going with his introduction of the XRP community into the case, or any questions as it pertains to law regulation around XRP or something more global to the entire digital asset space. Please formulate a question. Put it in the chat. I'll do my very best. I'm going to keep bouncing back and forth to the Twitter tab and see if John's seen the DM yet. I don't know, but there are little check marks on the DMs. Does anybody know about that? Amanemoto. Hola. Nice to have you. Lori, nice to see you. If it's deemed a security, what will happen? That's a good question, Steve. I'll tell you what will happen. Ripple will need to either buy a broker, right? a licensed dealer broker, because they will have to meet all of the SEC guidelines as it pertains to the transfer and sale of securities. And since Ripple holds all that XRP in their escrow function, for them to sell any or release any, it will need to go through a broker dealer who's licensed to trade, sell, and custody securities. That probably isn't a big deal, right? There are a lot of entities looking for business out there that are licensed broker dealers. So I don't think that would be a big deal. What will happen to you, the XRP holder? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. There's nothing they can do about the genie that got out of the bottle. It would be something that is going forward, not anything instilled or restrictive retroactively. I'm very curious if JD has been, this is BZ here. Let's see what BZ is throwing out there. I'm very curious if JD has been pressured, threatened by the SEC in his personal life to back out of this case. Blink twice. I don't know. BZ, if you know somebody that's been watching, has Guido visited in the middle of the night? I don't know. Let's see what Bill's got to say. If we have to be brokers, maybe I kind of like to have that added to my resume. No, you don't have to be a broker. Ripple would have to conduct all of their sales and purchases of XRP through a licensed broker dealer. Mizzo, nice to have you in the house. We have Clara Martinez is chiming in. Nice to see you. This is the first time I've seen you. Check mark come when you secure your Twitter account. No, I'm talking about the check marks in a Twitter DM. Like, I'm used to WhatsApp. So when I use WhatsApp and I send somebody a WhatsApp message, you get one check for it was created and sent. Then another gray check pops once their account received it. And then both check marks turn blue when they have opened the app and have viewed it, indicating they've read it. I don't know the sequence on Twitter DM. Let me go back to Twitter DM. I don't see anything. Okay, back to StreamYard. So, Bill, another question. Here we go. Would you like to be considered a broker? No. I have no desire to go through the red tape it would take to become a licensed broker dealer of securities. The SEC gets to put a flashlight up your tuchus, and I just have no desire to go through that kind of scrutiny. And I don't know who would, right? I don't know who would. I think as somebody who looks at just numbers, right? Being an investor in this space, the capital appreciation alone, I'm not even talking about compounding yield or any of those other kind of things, just the appreciation of these assets over time is going to dwarf anything that I could get involved in. You know what I mean? So it's like the best thing I can do is acquire my assets and then do nothing. That little bit of dead silence was because it's really just that simple. Acquire your quality assets and let the magic of the market do its thing. All of the signals that we see are pointing in the direction of growth and adoption, even despite all the FUD. Let's see what Ray's got to say. However, wouldn't we be trading securities for future XRP trades of XRP? Okay. If you're trading, then the answer is yes. If you're holding, when it comes time to sell your XRP, you will have to go to a licensed broker dealer because they are the ones who are legally able to buy and sell that type of thing. So you don't need to be a broker dealer to own a stock. You don't need to be a broker dealer to own a bond certificate. You don't need to be a licensed custodian to hold your own assets. But if you want to sell them, you're going to have to find a licensed broker dealer, which again is not going to be an issue. There are tons of them. And believe me, if somebody is already in that business, them welcoming a new asset to deal and take a fee for, it's simple. Just add it to the list of the stuff they already do, right? Super simple stuff. All right. One more time, back to Twitter to see if John has responded. No, he hasn't. Quick question for the audience. Is the time zone changed in Florida? Is it 9 p.m. in Florida? Or 9:11 in Florida? The P-Man Van. Hi, Jerry from Montreal. Well, hello. Parlez-vous, mi amigo? No, mi amigo Spanish. I don't know how to say my friend in French. Parlez-vous? That's about all I know. Parlez-vous français? Do you know French? No, I don't. All right. So any other questions while we're waiting for John to stumble across his Twitter DM and link to the show? It's 9/11 in Florida. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Daniel, thank you. Thank you for popping in, man. So I'll tell you about my week. Heck of a week I'm having. So been working with this landowner directly without a real estate agent or anything. We're just going back and forth. And it looks like there's a very strong possibility that if this property clears the testing that we're going to do next week, which I'm bringing my architect out, I could pretty soon be an actual landowner in Costa Rica. This property already has an existing building on it, which will need to get obviously remodeled, which will take time and money and all this type of stuff. But it's kind of exciting. And it's all been kind of made possible by finding you guys, finding this digital asset space and diving in and following a course of learning that has allowed me to implement a lot of different strategies to build what I built. You know, I'm no different than anybody else. I came to this space with not a lot, and it's only through a process of studying, trying some things. Some things didn't work. Other things have worked very well. And then building out a framework to leverage different functions, right? So, you know, I knew early on that I wasn't going to have a lot of capital to put in this space. So I was going to have to try to find little tweaks and little things that I could do to maximize everything that I did. And when I boil it down, the formula has become actually relatively simple. Purchase a quality asset. Find a mechanism in which I can compound some yield on that asset and allow time to take place. Time is a very important commodity. It allows two things to happen. One, a continuous accumulation. So if you were able to acquire a Bitcoin, doesn't matter if it's at $3,500 or $50,000, if you were able to acquire a Bitcoin, you could literally park it somewhere if you were okay with the platform risk and generate a yield in the form of Bitcoin. And then it's just a time game, right? Like, so for instance, during the whole 2018, 2019 weirdness of what seemed like a perpetual down market, into 2020, those 3 years, I was actually able to accumulate some Bitcoin. And I've done my math, and the math works out that for Bitcoin, over 5 years, doing nothing turns into 5 Bitcoin. That's just off the yield mechanism. That's not factoring in the capital appreciation of the underlying asset, Bitcoin itself. Well, that same mechanism works for every asset. Doesn't matter what it is. So if the assets that you like and you're holding in your portfolio, if you've analyzed the platform risk or the risk to earn yield from it after the fact, some of them are going to have less risk. Like, for instance, if you're a Cardano holder and you're using your own private key held Cardano wallet and you're staking to that platform, your generation of your Cardano, your yield, is a function of the protocol. And your only risk is that the network doesn't get adopted, that it doesn't grow, that it doesn't attract more users, that some systemic failure happens and it goes to dust. Well, that basic risk is prevalent in every single investment. There is no investment on the planet that is risk-free. But once you get past that initial risk, if you own the private keys in a staking protocol that's earning you yield, it literally is risk-free yield. And that is a very, very, very precious thing. Think about that for a second. So I would love to know, and I'll put this question out to you guys, and then I'll go check the Twitter again. But how many of you guys are using yield generation as a dollar cost averaging to accumulate more of your assets? Let that sink in for a second. All right, John, what's going on here, John? This isn't good. At John, I'm just going to go open field here. At John Deaton. Check your DMs. Tweet. This was all set up in his calendar a week ago. Set. Let me go back to StreamYard. Here we are. And Brady, while I was away, Flatline Racer, nice to have you in the house. Vincent, nice to see you. Thanks for chiming in. Consume better content. Nice to have you in the house. Okay, Brady, let me scroll up here and see if I missed anything. Daniel, it's fantastic. A lot of land for your wine. Okay, food. Timeshare, custody, Jerry. Okay, there's got to be Celcius crypto loan. Interesting. So, leveraging your collateralizing your that's a whole topic. Let's get on that for a second. This is very important, I think. Many of you know that I've used mechanisms like leveraging my assets to acquire more assets. Two major points in that particular strategy, and keep in mind, you are going farther out the risk curve, right? It's riskier and riskier when you do things like this. So when you are collateralizing an asset, you are no longer earning interest on that asset. So that's important to know. You're going to pay interest on the loan that you take. It's important to understand that math. What does that look like over 6 months, a year, 5 years? How long are you going to hold this thing? What are the terms and conditions of the platform that you're doing it on, right? These are all things that you should work through and understand before you even consider pushing the trigger on it. Then the other is, because we're talking about assets that are marked to market, which means they're constantly repriced. Their value is constantly, second by second, being repriced, it's a completely different game than if what you're used to in your mind is like a credit card loan or what you might have experienced with mortgages and things of that nature. Those assets that you could collateralize in the past, let's just say a car or a house, their price was established at the time of the loan, and the price of that asset does not get repriced through the life of the loan. It's completely different in crypto, because the asset that you're collateralizing is constantly being repriced. They call that mark to market. In other words, its value is constantly being marked up or down relative to the market. So mark to market, that's what that means if you ever hear that term and are unfamiliar. So that's what that means. So I had to run a tremendous amount of math to look at all the various scenarios and then look at the history of our markets and say to myself, what historically has happened before? What can I reasonably expect in the future? And what I did when I did that is I came up with this particular strategy. And it's very simple, but if you deviate from it, you throw so many variables into play that you do not expect to get the same results I did. It's kind of like you have to follow it to the letter of the law. And that was that I would borrow 20% of my assets on hand. So if I had $100 on Nexo or Celcius, I'd borrow $20. But what I would do is I wouldn't take that money off the platform. I went and took that $20 and bought $20 more of an asset that I could immediately park on that platform, showing that I have $120 worth of value on the platform now. Do you see what I'm saying? What that allowed me to do was craft a math model that allowed me to earn enough interest to where I was always earning more interest on my uncollateralized assets than I was paying on the interest from the loan that was based off of what was collateralized assets. Because you got to remember, the quantity of your collateral is always in flux. So just because you might have $50 of value earning interest, if the price of the asset that the collateral is based on goes down, you're going to need to shift money from collateral that's earning interest to collateral that's being used to collateralize the loan. Now, the folks in the hedge fund tier of the Beyond Moon Investment Club all have a very complex spreadsheet that I designed to work through all that math so you can do all that forecasting ahead of time and be accurate to the penny and understand what's going on before you actually ever do anything, which is a really helpful tool. It's helped me avoid anything. And I will tell you that since I've been using this strategy, never collateralizing more than 20% of my portfolio, and whatever I do borrow goes to buy an asset that I put back on the platform, adding more value to the platform, my portfolio on that platform, I have not had a liquidation event. And one day in the last 18 months, I owed more interest than I earned. Only one day. To me, that's pretty outstanding results. Especially in a world where you hear a lot of people are getting liquidated. Just because a platform will allow you X amount of leverage doesn't mean you need to use it. And doesn't mean it's wise to use it. Be smart, be conservative, understand the risks, run the numbers before you ever do anything, and most likely you'll be okay. Brady, anything you want to put on the screen? Oh, Mr. B's in the house. Hey, Mr. B, nice to have you. Hey, I know Mr. B's down in Florida and John Deaton's down in Florida. Hey, Mr. B, hit John upside the head. He's not answering his DMs. He's not hitting the link. I don't know what to tell you guys. I feel silly. John's a pretty responsible, on top of it type of dudes. Yep, July 23rd. I will make sure I have it calendared right there in black and white. Here's the link. It's all right there. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm kind of bummed. I was really looking forward to talking to John. I'll tell you one of the really only question I have for John, and I wanted to give you guys a ton of opportunity to chime in on it, was this whole issue around what a court-established precedent is versus a legislative branch law. In other words, what the House of Representatives passes to Senate, that Senate agrees with and passes to the president, that becomes law, that whole legislative branch process. Hey, Nick Black from Crypto and Coffee Livestream. One does not simply deviate from said strategy. That's right, Nick. We don't deviate. Junglink's in the house. Good question, Jungle. When Deaton? I don't know. He said he had a calendar. There's a link in his Twitter DM. I feel like a schmuck. I even saw at one point, I saw little like balloon things in the DM, which indicated to me that he was typing. He was on a computer and most likely on Twitter, but he hasn't checked his DM. I don't know what to say. It's because he had to defend XRP. I didn't get to read all it. It's because he had to defend XRP, and nobody should be made to do that. Well, I'll tell you what, I think there's a tremendous amount of people here in the audience that will tell you at some point in the future, XRP will no longer need to be defended. It'll have its rightful place. It'll do what it's supposed to be doing. I mean, I may be dead by that time, but it's an excellent technology. And I really do hope that it gets a market fit and that it's able to bring a lot of the hopes and aspirations of the community that poured so much of their time, energy, and money into this asset that doesn't go to waste. That would really suck. That would really, really suck. But the truth is, folks, regardless of what happens with XRP is one asset in a very large basket of assets that are innovative. They're changing the way business is done, the way people are looking at businesses. I had the good fortune of sitting down for a little over an hour yesterday with Raoul Powell, which recorded an interview for this YouTube channel. And one of the fascinating topics towards the end, we talked about community tokens and what tokenizing and bringing an economic incentive to a consumer base or a fandom or just a community, how powerful that is, right? When you look in contrast, for instance, you've got Facebook built on a permissionless open source network. We call it the internet, but they built a business model and attracted current user base, I think 3.5 billion is pretty big. Well, the users haven't profited $1. It's the equity holders in the capital structure of the business that made all the money. Well, imagine a community that's using and holding a token that's an exchange of value, where the users are actually deriving value from the adoption and growth of the network they're a part of. That's a really amazing thought, and one that is most likely going to take hold, right? Behavioral economics, game theory, all these things come into play when you start thinking about what incentivizes people. You know what I mean? Like one of the things I will tell you, I initially got into proof of stake protocols based on the fact that they were in the protocol going to produce a yield for my capital, let alone the capital appreciation of whatever. The fact that the mechanism in itself was built to have a way to reward me whether the price went up or down. Now, I've since refined my strategies and have different reasons for why I'm still doing those things. But that was one of the initial things. And that comes right from a game theory type perspective, right? If I'm being incentivized to participate in something that I would most likely participate already, then I'm going to participate more. And I think we're seeing that, right? When you look at these metrics, these on-chain analytics, where it shows these top proof of stake protocols have like enormous amounts of value locked up in delegation. I think one of the stats I saw was the Cardano platform, right? Cardano, 70% of the circulating supply of Cardano is tied up in delegation. Now, can it be undelegated tomorrow? Sure. You have that ability. But the point is, that is a large amount of what we would call the float is tied up. The available market of that asset is tied up being staked, earning more. Boy, I wish XRP had done something like that, had some way for me, the XRP holder, to participate in that. When Ripple came out with their line of credit element of their business, back then, I ran out what I was hoping was going to be an inevitable outcome would be that XRP would no longer be disjointed all over the place, that Ripple would consolidate basically a XRP bank. They would become the XRP pool. Not only would they supplement and use their escrow of XRP, but they would allow us token holders, right, us guys that already own XRP, to contribute our XRP to their liquidity pool, therefore making a massive pool of liquidity available for these on-demand clients. Because we all know there is a ton of money being held by bag holders, whether sitting on ledgers or... Why? Why would you want me to shut up? Hey, Mr. B, I think I saw Brady put something on the screen. XRP, the case will settle. What do you think settlement will happen? What do you think will be the outcome of a settlement? I'm very curious about that. Like I said, one of the things I wanted to talk to John about and was really excited to have him on the show was the difference between a case that goes to trial and has a judgment, creates a precedent, right? Precedent is used in future cases because it's, hey, let's look, basically it's the next court, the next case will go, well, look at this case. It went to fruition and this was the outcome. And that outcome we're going to bring into this case to help define and clarify and bring resolution to this case. Well, if you settle, right, settle before judgment, there is no precedent. There's no legal precedent set. So the next case, the next company the SEC drags into court doesn't have the benefit of what Ripple did with the SEC if it went to judgment and got a favorable judgment. Then the other element of a settlement is, I believe, Brad, when he said, we're going to court. We had an opportunity to negotiate this outside of even starting a court case. We said, no, we're going to court. We're going to win this. and we're going to win it for the whole crypto industry. I'm like, yeah. Well, if they settle, all that goes right out the window, right? Then what are we left with? We're left with no case precedent for future cases in the court system. And if any of you have been following any of the C-SPAN stuff or what's coming out of crypto Twitter about this infrastructure bill, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, I hate to say it. As a U.S. citizen and somebody who's loved the United States his entire life, our lawmakers are inept. They're just inept, and they're not even willing to take a page out of history and copy and paste. What I mean by that is they're not willing to go back and look at when the internet was created, this big world of nobody knows what the outcome will be. They didn't freak out. They created some sandbox structuring and some kind of general guidelines and said, okay, go innovate. And look what happened. I mean, it's like 8 of the 10 largest entities on the planet have benefited on the back of that innovation, and 8 of those 10 are US companies. I don't know. Seems kind of odd that they wouldn't just take a pay. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. And all you have to do is look around at any of these subcommittees and know they were all alive and around back then. They're all old. 20 years to them is they were old 20 years ago. So it doesn't make any sense to me that we don't have some kind of forward-thinking regulatory framework in which this new innovative technology can be harnessed, be put to work, and allowed to grow. It's that basic principle that has allowed every innovative process over the last 150 years to flourish and grow and have America be leading the charge for it. I just don't get it. The only thing that comes to mind is that the pockets of our lawmakers, or the majority of them that are against this, are being lined by those that would oppose this technology. And who would oppose this technology? Who stands to lose? Well, it appears to me the folks that have already got a stranglehold on the flow of money. But that's a very small percentage of the population, a very small percentage of business. It's a very small group that controls the flow of money. Very small. So anyway, Crawford, from what I understand, and I'm no expert on Jeb McCaleb, his XRP stash is running on fumes. I think he'll continue to sell until he's gone. And I think I even saw somebody post something about it looks like we could be there. I saw somebody posting something that if he kept the current rate, it'd be out by the end of July, and it's already in August. So I don't know if Jed still has XRP that he's putting into the system or not, but he is or isn't. That's for somebody who's following the on-chain metrics. Ooh, Nick. I can't think of one single employee at Ripple that would want that to happen, or any of their investors that would want that to happen, because the truth of the matter is the majority of the value proposition as it pertains to Ripple, the company, is that stash of XRP. And to give up control of that stash is giving up the control of anybody care to take a stab at what 50 billion XRP is valued at any course in time in the future. Adoption will come in time. They've been setting up payment rails across the world and have been setting up relationships with institutions, banks, and governments. Yes, they have, but the pittance that they get for user fees and licensing is nothing it's a drop. It's a drop in the bucket compared to the valuation of the asset XRP. Should it, I mean, even at 73 cents, 50 billion is, what is that? What is that? It's let's say it's 75 billion. So it's 37,000 billion. I mean, $37 billion. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. At least it is for me here in Costa Rica. Can you imagine how much top ramen I could stock up on with $37 billion? All right. Well, I only can say Brad wouldn't make it to the end as CEO. Yeah, that's probably right. And Jungle, do you think Chris would have to step down as the chairman of the board in that scenario? Do you think there's a scenario where one of the two leave and not both together? I'm of the opinion they both stay or they both go. I don't see where one could stay and the other would take an exit. I'd love to know your thoughts on that. Vincent, you're right, but keep in mind, it was only, God, I can't even remember. When did Clinton leave office? That's when it was at the end of Clinton's administration when that whole internet sandbox, go get them, go build stuff, make America great. Let's build companies and all that stuff. That wasn't that long ago, really. No John Deaton, I'm bummed, but there's always a silver lining. Guess who's here? Bitta Avenue.
Hello, happy Friday, everybody.
Nice to see you, Bitta. I'm kind of bummed John isn't here. You did all these, probably put together some great questions and had it all dialed in.
It's okay. I was actually I was listening to you as I was doing other stuff, and I was hoping I would also put some questions together while he was discussing new information and things like that. But we'll catch him next time.
You know what? I'll reach out to him. I don't have anybody scheduled next week. Let me take a quick look at my calendar. I don't think I do. The 13th, I don't. So, I mean, obviously, I would never begrudge a guy for missing an appointment if it was on accident. And I do not believe John to have one malicious bone in his body as it pertains to this channel. So we'll reach out to him again, see if we can get him on next week. Keep in mind, folks, we're going to start a thing. We're going to get Nick Black on the last Friday of every month. So make sure you tune in for that. For those of you that sent me a lot of messages about our show last week that we did with Jungle Inc. and Nick Black, obviously you guys know Jungle Inc. can be found on YouTube at Jungle Inc. And he does, whenever he posts his content, he posts it. It's all pre-recorded. Nick Black does a live show Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9:30 a.m. my time. So hang on, that would be 11:30 a.m. on the East Coast, 8:30 a.m. if you're in Sherman Oaks. You can always find him at 8 a.m. at the coffee shop around the corner from his house. So if you just want to run into him in person, just go to the coffee shop around his house, buy him a cup of coffee, tell him what you want to talk about on the show, and he'll bring it up. Oh. All right, Bitter, we got you here. He's not here. Did you? John's not here. Did by any chance you have were you something about XRP and the court case that you had on your mind even before you found out he wasn't here?
No, actually, a lot of the stuff that I had in mind, you guys had already discussed as far as if they settled versus if they actually went to judgment, what would happen. Versus since they didn't really want a court case to say, is it a security or not? now, like, would they be proceeding to say, like, to get a judgment on that, because that is such a big deal right now, right? So that was one of my main questions, because that affects a lot of other cryptos as well. So I was looking forward to getting, maybe, like, if you had any insights on that. I was looking forward to it.
Yeah, I was too. Truth is, I'm not an attorney, but I'm fairly certain that a settlement, regardless of how favorable it is for Ripple and the two folks involved, personally, Brad and Chris, a settlement, I don't see how that benefits XRP, a settlement, right? A settlement. So if Congress isn't going to pass a law giving us a clear designation of what is this and what is that, like, are these assets commodities? Which ones are currencies? Which ones are utility tokens? Which ones are what the classifications are? And we don't get a judgment from a judge, a finality of the case with a resolution, then I don't see how a settlement helps XRP expand its business, because it's not the court case with the SEC that's limiting XRP's use on RippleNet. It isn't.
Yeah, but the case that they have with the SEC still doesn't clarify whether they lose it or win it. Doesn't give you the clarification whether at this point you are a security or not. So
exactly, it's no different than before the case.
Yes. So where do you go from now? Like, do they use this case in starting another case to ask if to get a judgment, or those were the questions that I had. So I don't really know how the court goes about it as far as trying to decide, are you a security or not? So,
well, this according to Gary Gensler, everything's a security. Yeah, I think Gary Gensler is strategically doing what any good empire builder would do, and that is ask for more power. I distinctly remember in history reading about Julius Caesar, who went to the Senate under the guise of a war with the Germanians, basically, stating the importance of increasing the army. And, by the way, I need a ton more power. I need the power. I need you to bestow the power of this empire on me so that I can make quick decisions to benefit all of Rome. And they went, okay, we bestow that power upon you. And he never gave it back. When the war was over and everything was cool and everybody's paying their taxes, Julius Caesar said, I'm not giving it back.
why would he?
that whole temporary war powers act that you put in place, guess what? It's no longer temporary. Kind of like the whole temporary suspension of converting gold to the US dollar.
Right.
They temporarily suspended the conversion of gold to the US dollar, temporarily. That was 1971. So I count that as 40 years ago. So temporary 40 years. That doesn't make sense to me, but it is what it is.
We have to define how long temporary is, I guess. So.
All right. So the chat is just going crazy. We've got a settlement with a finding of not guilty on the fraud part of the issue would allow them to reach out. And court new bank partners. Yes. If they admit fault, it's over. I don't foresee them ever admitting fault. Let's go, Mr. The markets need to hear from the SEC that XRP is currently not a security. Then exchanges can relist. Okay, I get that. As an XRP holder myself, though, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't give two shits about the retail market. I want to see Ripple be able to utilize XRP in the RippleNet private entity that is RippleNet and facilitate commerce. I want IBM to be able to pay the manufacturer and so and zip through that and and use that thing for what it was built for. I think remittances are great. I think all that other stuff is great. It's what's going through Swift is what we want going through RippleNet. But that's just my take on it. Okay, we got, is this enough? Boy, man, there's a lot going on here. In the US, you can have conflicting jurisdictions among regulatory agencies, and all of them are correct until a constitutional conflict arises and the Supreme Court steps in. Well said, Mr. Black. Case in point, a regulatory body of the US Treasury, we call it lovingly FinCEN, has already established XRP as a virtual currency, not like the IRS that deems it a property, but a virtual currency. And as an XRP holder for a long, long time, I hung my head on that and said, there, we already got a government body. We got a regulator that said it's currency. I guess that doesn't add up to a whole lot. It's kind of a shame, isn't it?
It's interesting how it's classified different. Like the same thing is classified differently based on who's going to use it or how it's going to benefit them and not the rest of us. But
this is a good question. What would it take for you to just sell all your XRP and walk away from it?
Nothing.
I don't know. I mean, it's well publicized that I sold every single one of them on December 23rd when I heard about the court case, but then bought back in a nice tidy little bag when it got down to 22 cents. What would it take for me to sell what I got right now? Ripple to go under? If Ripple, the company, closed up shop and there was no entity in let's say, I don't know. It would really, I think it would also depend on where the escrow went. If a new custodial entity came into play with the escrow and who were they and how were they going to address it and what they were going to do with it, I'd need all that info before I even begun to think about what it would take to sell it all. What do you think, Bitta?
David Schwartz has to say something went wrong or something is not going to work in order for me to even budge. Like technology wise, or, oh, we had a misstep, or we've done this like that. Something within the technology is wrong. Outside of that, I don't see me budging. That's just me.
Interesting.
I'm stubborn.
Lee P makes a statement here. Again, I'm not a lawyer, and this was one of the things I wanted to work through with John. But I don't believe for 1 second that a settlement will bring about a definition, right? I don't believe for 1 second a settlement will bring about a definition of whether XRP is a security or is not a security. I don't believe that will happen with a settlement. I think it needs to go all the way through the court process and a judge makes a judgment. Settlement means judge doesn't make a judgment. The judge is going, okay, party A and party B have come to an agreement. They're going to remove the case. I don't need to make a judgment. I'm not going to make a judgment. That's my 2 cents on that. I could be completely wrong. I've been wrong about a lot of things. Dude, Nick Black came in here tonight just to rain on XRP holders parade. The world does not need bridge assets. I feel like nobody is really admitting this to themselves. This isn't an option. It's tech. Well, I will tell you, there is a tremendous amount of insight into using stable coins, completely IRS compliant, right? Stable coins. There is no capital gain or capital loss because stable coins just track the dollar. They are a digital asset. So I guess they are technically property, but they never go up or down higher than the dollar. So you bought it at $1 and you sell it at $1. There is no tax consequence. Some of them move pretty quickly. I know the USDC on the Stellar rails moves like XRP, like XLM. It's just fast. Crypto Kahuna, man, nice to have you in the house. Aloha. And I hope there's no Dash. If I didn't acknowledge Dash, I apologize. Should have. All right. All right, here we go. Dash with words of wisdom. If XRP hits $10, I'll be selling a large percentage. Me too.
We're waiting for that one.
unless it hits 10. See, there's a lot of, why would I sell XRP? Here's a question. I think everybody should ask themselves this and think about this. This is very important because I absolutely applaud every single one of you that are thinking about how will I exit? How will I realize the capital, investment, profit, etc.? If XRP hits $10 is not the important number, folks. It's just a number. What's important is why did it reach $10, right? If XRP reaches $10 built off of actual utility and network effects and adoption, and there's still more adoption curve and network effects to come, why would you sell out at 10 when it's a foregone conclusion that in a little bit more time, it'll be 15, 20, 25? So don't focus on numbers, focus on the why. Why is it $10? Is it $10 built off of the fact that some incredible narrative or story is going around, and therefore it's speculative? A $10 speculative XRP, I'd sell tomorrow at $10. But if it was built on the back of, digital assets for sovereign nations are traveling through the XRP ledger, and XRP is a product and necessary for the use of that, whether it be on some form of liquidity provision or gas to fuel that network or whatever, that might be something to think about holding long term. You don't sell something that's got a 20-year life cycle in the first year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bitta.
I'm personally looking forward to it hitting 10 and even above, because like for me, I would think about it like if you're at like under $1 or under $2 and it's going to 10, I don't think it would be off of just speculation. I think something fundamental must have happened, or some ground is being gained for it to have hit $10, which is a great indicator. Okay, things are now moving. That's how I look at it. Well,
okay, let's talk about that just for a second. Where is $10 from where we are today? We're what, 73, 74 cents today?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if
think about it. Okay, 70 something cents. How many times does 75 cents go into $10?
10, if a little bit more.
12.8?
Yeah, a little bit more, yeah.
Okay. Well, XRP is already just off of speculation. We've seen various points in our history. We'd be remiss to the entire audience if we didn't talk about 2017, where it went from 6 cents to $3.80 something cents off of speculation.
Okay, with the rest of the market.
Purely based off of speculation. So everything, it's back to, it's not the number that counts. The number doesn't matter, really. It's the why. If you're going to base your behavior off of a number, right, and that's it. It's just the number. I'm just looking at a piece of paper, and at this number, it means go time. There's a very good possibility that you will make a bad call over the long run. Yeah. If you understand the why something is happening, then you're able to actually dictate. Now you're making at least sound judgment based off of a good information, as opposed to, well, back in 2017, I saw the run up and I didn't do anything. So in 2018, I created an exit strategy and it said at $10 I sell XRP.
Yeah, that's a little different because when you have a bull run and all the coins are going up, that's a different, in my mind, that's different than when something actually fundamental happening and the price going up. When like not just with the rest of the market. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't it running up to $10 with the rest of the market. Yeah, you can cash out so that you don't miss the bull run, like however whatever percent you have, but that's not the same for me as it actually moving on its own, or like fundamentals changing and things changing and the adoption changing and it hitting $10 and keep going. It's a little different for me. So we're just expressing it a little different, but if it's going with the bull run, that's, I don't think I would quite count it versus if it was it moving on its own, because things are changing and things are getting adopted, and whether you got settlement, whether you got clarity, and then now you're moving, then I guess it's the same thing as what you're saying, which is like, why is it changing? It's not because everything else is going up. So yeah.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see, some of the things that I think would be like indicators, right? Indicators for me, and have been in when I look at my XRP investment, is Ripple continuing to acquire top quality talent? In other words, new employees, new board members that bring a ton to the table. Because human capital has a value. Even if the price of the asset in whatever particular current market they're in isn't reflecting that value, human capital is valuable. And the better human capital you have, the more value they bring. Okay, so that's one element. The other is the business relationships, the partners, the people who are adding value to your endeavor because you're adding value to their endeavor. And when you have relationships like that, they tend to grow, not shrink. Right? It's like people in our lives, the people that we enjoy interacting with, we tend to interact with more, and the ones we don't, we scale back.
True.
Right? It's so there's that. So I look at those things. It looks like Ripple's doing fine on the front. I like some of the talent they brought in. I love some of the things they did. This whole line of credit thing I thought was going to be a game changer, because now they can literally become the bank of XRP. It doesn't really cost them anything to lend their XRP to somebody to use, because they already have the XRP. The cost of the XRP is already been paid. There are no variable costs to create or utilize XRP. It's zero. It's a zero cost thing, right? The escrow releases it. If they want to lend some out, they do. Costs them nothing to do it. It's a win-win. And we haven't seen that explode. And I really thought that would. I really did. When I looked at it, I thought, okay. This is the game changer. The whole trying to do and establish and create various market makers that would be these little XRP bank liquidity pool things, that didn't quite work out. The MoneyGram thing didn't work out. Okay, great. Line of credit. Oh, now all of a sudden they can literally use an asset that has zero cost to them to carry, because it doesn't cost any money to carry some electrons.
Yeah. Is it possible?
You know what I mean? It's not like it's not like a safe or a vault that needs 24-hour security and armed guards like gold or other tangible assets. This is a digital asset. There's zero cost to carry it. You could hold it forever and not have it cost you a nickel. That's a big deal.
Is it possible, because of the SEC, that because the case is still not settled, so if you can't list it on exchange and all this stuff is still holding, is it possible that that's what's actually holding it up, because nobody really wants to use it yet, because the case is still not fully, like, we still don't know what's going to happen. So I don't know if anything will, until that case is really settled and we have some sort of security. It's not in the sense
Well,
of
I mean, here's the thing. If you go back and look at the markets reports, and Ripple's really, I mean, been pretty good about every 3 months we get a markets report. They're still selling XRP and they're in a court case. So if they're selling, that means somebody's buying. Somebody is buying it. Are they out of the jurisdiction of the United States? Most likely. Most likely.
Yeah, I don't know.
But, you know, I've always pinned my hat on. I didn't think XRP would be successful as a non-US, in a party without the US being part of it. I thought US capital markets, US capital corporations, businesses, the remittances, the whole enchilada was the US needed to be a part of that. I do not think for 1 second XRP will be wildly successful if the United States is not a participant in it. You know what I mean? I just don't believe that. So Nick brings up a good point. I think if I didn't cover, I thought I said, if you look at, wait, that's not what where's the other one? About dev costs. There we go. Well, there are some manpower and software dev sunk costs. This is true. That's for management. That's not the cost to carry. Doesn't cost a nickel. Doesn't cost a nickel. I guess maybe it costs a little more than a nickel because every month when the escrow opens, some electricity gets used to signify this, and this. Okay, so maybe it costs 25 cents. They sell under the table. No such thing is under the table.
Yes, I love
not in a corporation that is having to file its taxes and all that stuff. Oh, lawmakers, idiots, friggin'. Oh, speaking of lawmakers, did you guys see all this stuff on Facebook and Twitter about call this number? They'll put you in touch with your congressmen and your senators and tell them that the crypto part of the infrastructure bill is horrible. Take it out. Don't have it be a part of it. I did it. I dialed the phone number, took me through this automated thing, and it sent me to my first senator, and I left a voicemail. Then it took me to my second senator. Voicemails was full. Then it took me to my congressman. All I had to do was put in my zip code.
Oh, I didn't even
What
know
is
that.
your zip code? I put in my zip code. Boom. They already know who my representative in the House is. They know who my two senators are, blah, 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 blah. And so I got to, I went through the whole little process. I left one voicemail and got two. The voicemail is full. Well, they're supposedly voting on this thing tomorrow. So we'll see how it turns out. Hopefully, the crypto part of this new infrastructure bill gets taken out. Is not part of the bill that goes forward. Fingers crossed.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. I'm looking at the clock. It's time to bring in Brady, our illustrious producer, for final thoughts. Brady always has good final thoughts. That's what he does, right?
He sits back and writes
sitting in his house. All Brady does is listen to the show, and he's crafting this beautiful final thought.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's the best thing in the world. So, Brady, you are now live.
Oy vey. Let's see where I.
Who wants to go first? Bitter, you got a final thought, or Brady? Who wants to go first?
I can go first. So considering you had talked about how taking a loan or having a credit card in the traditional system is very different from how it is with the crypto, like as far as how you take a loan and then you use the same platform to purchase, gave interest, and then put it back to pay your loan value. I think with life and everything else nowadays, we have to relearn everything that we thought we knew. I think we have to unlearn everything we thought this is how life should be, or this is how the financial market works. And I think we have to recalibrate and reevaluate everything and start over, because a lot of things that I've held to be valuable in my life before, I like my whole world shook, right? The last 9-10 months. And I had to re-question everything I thought I knew, or everything that I built my life on shook from under me with everything going on. So I had to rethink of everything and relearn everything. And that included the financial education of, these are the things that were happening in my parents' generation that they taught us, but none of those things are really gonna make us thrive at this point in life, because we have to unlearn them, like just completely unlearn, rebuild, recalibrate, and restart over. I feel like that has been my core, thing lately, has been unlearning everything that I thought I knew and restarting over, like starting a new base for myself and for life in general. So
Well said. I would tell you the one thing that, if, like, let's say you were my daughter or my son saying exactly what you just said to me, I'd say there's a tremendous amount of merit there, but don't forget, those of us who do not know and learn from the past have a great propensity to repeat it.
true.
So let's not be so quick to dismiss the old stuff. Let's understand it and then apply the lessons that we've learned and adapt to a better way.
Yeah, recalibrate it. Not
Recalibration time.
Recalibrate, yes. Not,
Tune in next week, folks, for when we get to meet Bita 2.0.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
All right, Brady, your final thoughts, young man.
All right. I think I summed it up and even tied it with a question.
Ooh.
Here we go. If I I want to try and sum up the whole show, I guess, with this. And it is what Bit is talking about is time value evaluation, knowledge, recalibration. It's basically, how do we value time? Earning yield reminds you how powerful putting your assets at risk. I'm not sure if it is or are, grammar aside, but that's one point. And my question is, could you throttle your portfolio balance with what assets you buy with your 0.1% leverage? Because you were mentioning 20% for your balance, and I'm wondering if you wanted to cut that in half and feel even more safe. And that's what I think we need to start looking at, is it's not just sitting and waiting for something, it's collecting more of what you already value. And as Jerry started with, you just sit and wait.
Well, I think there would be some merit. I think that, I personally believe there was a tremendous amount of merit in a 20% to portfolio value loan, acquiring with that 20% assets, moving it onto the platform, therefore reducing the actual percentage of the portfolio ratio. Right. So starting with, and that was at 20%. So would it be more advantageous for 10%? No, the gains wouldn't be as high, but the relative degree of safety would increase exponentially, right? By 100%. So I think there's a tremendous amount of value in there. I think everything is about risk appetite, understanding the risks. I mean, would be my response to that, Brady.
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I'm coming at it from an angle of, you mentioning you buy the asset, or you use your collateral to get the leverage, and then you use that cash to buy the asset that you collateralized. Would there be any benefit, whether it's increase or decrease risk or probability, in, say, taking all of your assets and blasting them all towards purchasing Bitcoin with your interest, your yield, whatever you see what I'm trying to say? The cash that you use, if you don't buy the asset that it was leveraged with and you purchased a different asset, could that be used to help balance risk better? I'm trying to ask it in the George Gammon kind of way with
Okay. So
I don't know if Bita can pick up what I'm putting down, but does that make any sense?
Let me see if I understand what you mean. So instead of you you collateralizing your BTC to take a loan, and then you're buying more BTC. So if the market goes down, all your value goes down. Versus if you buy another asset that has a different cycle, that might help with.
Oops.
Oh, he left. That might help
Wait,
with
my finger. Maybe my finger hit
rebalancing.
him.
Did you kick him out?
I don't know. I hit him with my. I lost a nail during quarantine or something or other, and I'm growing it back, so it kind of feels weird.
Oh.
And I'm not familiar. I need to be more familiar with this platform, so I'm not sure. Anyway,
Is that what
thank
you were
you for.
saying?
Yes, but there's a twist. Instead of taking the cash that you got from the Bitcoin, the cash you receive, you then say buy Ethereum.
Right.
Because
So
you're also getting yield on Ethereum, say on a Nexo or wherever you have your asset at risk, it's earning the yield. So when does it make sense to not buy to use the cash to buy the asset respectively, and instead use it to buy a different asset?
yeah, I don't
Like
think
say Cardano with Ethereum. Like if you use each other's price leverage to purchase each other you see what I'm saying? Like is there a twist there or
the only advantage I see with that is if you use that loan that you took to buy more BTC, I think when the price drops or goes up, I think versus if you buy something else with it, that has a different cycle than BTC, or if your original was Cardano or something else, and if you buy an asset that has a different cycle, it might rebalance your portfolio better. As far as because the cycle is not going to be the same, is the only advantage I can see in it. But when it comes to BTC, like everything follows BTC, so I don't know if that will be if there's any advantage or disadvantage to it, considering that's the leader of the pack. So
right. And what brings it to mind is Nick's mention of Nick's wealthy people know this. You don't spend your principal, and it sounds kind of lame. And invest in over time. Sure, but the concept is use what you're getting in your yield from your assets to buy things. You're already holding the asset. You're being paid to wait. Take that premium and go buy more of it. And if you are doing it a 150% leverage, you're nuts. If you're doing it at 10, okay, cool, but you're do it at 0.1 or Jerry 0.2. Keep your leverage. Just because the 10's there, you don't have to use it. We're all using 1. So I don't know, it's all kind of clicking in my head now. But Nick's mention of cash. So if you have an income of cash, where do you allocate it to get your balance on your portfolio to increase? So that was, yeah. I think a lot.
I've seen Jerry's spreadsheet, and so when he talks about it, I can imagine what he's talking about, because I've actually seen the spreadsheet. I've built on top of the spreadsheet. I've created other things off of his spreadsheet. So I understand where he got his balance, or like why he has pinpointed it to that. So I'm trying to connect it to that when you say 0.1. I mean, you could, but even though you're decreasing your risk, was that risk not necessary to decrease because the probability is way less versus your gains would have been higher? So it's just depends on your risk appetite, I guess. So
risk appetite.
It's a personal choice, right? So
yeah.
So are we?
Right,
I don't know if you have the ability to end the live, or if
I sent him. Oh, see, now I should have been paying attention to his WhatsApp, because I'm totally unfamiliar. Yet Jerry, wealth of knowledge. I sent him a link. I'm not sure but I guess if he can hear it, then he's either checked it or not. I do see an end button on my screen, so I think we have that ability, and I guess we should do it.
Yeah.
So everyone have a good night, Jerry. If you're, or do we want to give him a minute, or just say if he hasn't?
Because is he in the chat? Are you able to see if he's in the chat? Maybe something went. Maybe his
Oh,
internet
private. That's right.
down.
No, I do not see it, and I sent him. Hold on, let me. Yeah, this, folks, for you at home, this StreamYard app is blaring, getting very fast as far as how we communicate publicly. Because wow, this thing is very intricate.
I can't
Yeah,
see
later.
anything
All right.
yet.
So I think we should. I think we should read the room.
No.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Because I can't see any of the chats when I'm in here, so
Okay.
you'll have to.
Yeah, I'd be interested. We'll have to talk about that afterwards. So
Okay.
I'll push the end button, Jerry. I hope my run-on sentence of a, oh hey, here's three things, didn't bore you. Maybe he had to go put his dog outside to go to the bathroom. Anyway, have a good night, everyone.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.